Alright, so I've got a bunch of pallets here I need to dismantle, and we're going to use them for various projects. I've got a trash can cover for the dog park, or the dog run. I've got a gate to make also for the dog run, and then we also want to use some of that pallet wood, sand it down, stain it, and behind our bathroom, in our bathroom behind our toilet, we want to do a pallet wall as well. So got to get these stripped, and we're going to try to use as much as possible. So I'm going to take time to actually go through and remove the nails from all of the actual boards. As you can see, quite a bit, but pallets are in really great shape, easy to stain, so worth the effort. We don't want to cut down and lose any of our actual boards on the size, so let's get started. Okay team, so today's project we are going to be starting the gate for the dog run here. We're going to be putting our 4x4 post right here in the front, and we'll be anchoring in a 2x4 here, and we'll have our gate open this way, hinges on the 2x4 here. We'll have our gate lock on the 4x4 here. We're going to go ahead and be painting the 4x4, 2x4, and the frame of the gate black. We picked out some really nice wood stain and sealer called mulberry yesterday. So we'll get all that stuff started and stained, and we'll get this project underway. Let's get to it. Okay, so first step, we've gone ahead and pulled out our decorative gravel. We're going to be taking our post hole digger and trench digger, and we're going to be digging down about 1.5 feet to put our 4x4 post in, and then we'll be concreting that in to make sure it's nice and sturdy. We do get high winds out here in New Mexico, so it is a gate, meaning it is going to be catching a ton of wind, so we want to make sure that's concreted down and nice and sturdy, and we're not getting unlevel after time. So let's get everything started here and let's get it done right. Okay, so with the combination of the trench shovel and the post hole digger, we were able to dig it out pretty easily. Gone down 1.8 feet. That'll give me a 2-foot little footer to make sure everything is level down in there before we put the actual 4x4 posts, and then we'll pour the rest in with concrete and fill it with the concrete there. So what we need to go ahead and do is pour in a little bit of our concrete and make a nice level base so our 4x4 can sit in there kind of level. Alright, so we got our 60-pound bag of concrete. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut some of it open. We're going to pour some of it down into our hole. We'll pour some water in there, mix it all up, let it harden and set. We want to make sure we give ourselves a nice flat footer, make it a little easier to actually install the 4x4. Alright, so we've got our concrete base poured in. We need to let this harden and settle, and that'll give us our nice flat surface to put our 4x4 on. What we did is just poured a little bit of the concrete mix in there, add a little bit of water at a time, mixing it up thoroughly until we get the right consistency of what we're looking for. So next step is let's start painting some of our boards. Alright, so I don't have any reliable workbench, so threw together a little temporary one, so don't judge. Channel's just starting off, so once funds become more available and I'm able to, I plan to actually renovate part of this garage, since we only have the one vehicle that needs to park in it, into my actual workshop. And there'll be more depth into that later on as we get into the channel and the channel kind of evolves into more. But for now, we've got our little temporary workbench. We've got our 2x4 here that we're going to be painting black, and this will be anchored into the actual retaining wall. We've got our 4x4, which we're going to be painting black, which is going to be actually our post that the gate will sit in and lock onto. And the 2x4 is where we're actually going to have our hinges mounted, and we'll swing open from there. So let's get started painting some of our boards. We've got to paint side of the 4x4 here because it is going to be impossible to paint once it's actually buried. So I want to get one side of that at least painted and have it drying, and then 2x4 can be painted once we put it on. So I may do that, but we'll see here. So we've got our Valspar Duramax paint for exterior, built-in primer. We went with a satin finish, the flat finished, a little bit less on the weather resistant since we are going to be outside all day with this. It is going to be susceptible to sun damage as well as water. So satin finish just makes sure that we don't get any excess water or anything being pulled in, and our color should last a little bit longer. So we're not going to be refinishing this as nearly soon if we were going with just a simple flat. So let's pop our top and let's get painting. Okay guys, we got the first coat on our 4x4 and our 2x4. I still have to do the bottom side. I didn't worry about painting this all the way through because of course that is going to be buried, so why waste the paint? So got to get this to dry here, and then we'll flip them over, paint the other sides. I haven't decided if I'm going to go ahead and do the second coat now, or if I'm just going to wait until I get them up, so that way if they get nicked around anything in there, I'm just painting a couple times, because I absolutely despise painting stuff, as you guys will come to find out with this channel. So I think at this point, kind of at a pause break here, we're going to go check our concrete, see where that's at, and then we have our boards that we're going to be using for our gate over here, which are going to be recycled from Pallets, trying to upcycle as much as we can and reuse everything we can. So we do have a bunch of our other lumber here, as you can see, ready for when we start some of our other projects we've got going on. So at this point, I think what we're going to do is, since we're kind of at a standpoint with everything else, we're going to start sanding all of these boards down and getting them ready for when we actually complete the gate. Alright, so today we're going to be assembling our frame for our gate. So for those who have never used or seen a pocket jig, what this does is this allows the screw to enter in at an angle into our board on this end, and allows for hidden screws, makes for a nice tight joint. We've gone ahead and placed the start of our jig at 1.25 inches back, since we're going through 1.5 inches, so we're going through 2x4 material. And we've got our collar set up on our jig for our bit at 4 1/8, so that way it knows where to stop, so we have the correct depth for the material that we're going to be screwing into. So pretty simple process to actually do and set up, only takes a few minutes. All you're going to need is a basic clamp, and we'll get everything screwed and drilled for our pocket holes, and then we'll get everything screwed together and show you the frame how it looks then. Alright, so I've got all of my herringbone boards cut, stained. We've got the frame done and painted. We've got some trim pieces to go on it. So now all to do is to screw everything together. Then once we have that screwed together, we'll get an actual picture of what needs to be touched up, so it'll be a lot easier to do the touch-ups. But I know I haven't shot anything for a while, so it's kind of a jump straight to this. Apologize for that, but pretty easy. Most of our cuts here, or I should say all of our cuts, are going to be 45-degree angle, standard herringbone. We've got about a 2¼ inch spacing between each slat. Stained everything with a mulberry color, semi-transparent, so nice, pretty gray stain. You guys can't really see it. All of this again made from recycled wood. Our slats are made from panels. from Pallets. Our frame is made from recycled 2x4s from construction sites that just had a bunch of scraps warped. Kind of straightened them out, filled them, made them look a little prettier. So everything on here we're trying to recycle as much as possible. Alright everyone, so you can see here we have our finished gate. I was a little pressed for time when trying to get it all installed because I wanted to make sure we got the dogs trained over here quickly so they didn't go on our new grass. I was a little pressed for time, so unfortunately I did not film me actually installing it. Quite easy, getting everything leveled in. I just had some scrap 2x4s that I used down here to keep it in place while I installed and mark our hinges. We got our 2x4 over here anchored into our actual cinder block wall using concrete and block anchors. I've got 3 of them in there, so it's really sturdy. And then as for my screws, I actually used different screws than what came with it, just because I wanted to make sure they were a little bit longer and stronger, just because we do get high winds out here. And then on our post over here, we installed our actual latch so we can just close the girls in and they can go to the bathroom without us having to worry. I also did install a hook here because occasionally we do get bad infestations of flies in the area we live. So every once in a while I will hang up a fly bag, but hasn't been necessary for a while now. But again, all of our gate was made completely from recycled 2x4s. The only thing that I actually had to purchase was the hinges, the lock, and then the actual paint, of course. And then our concrete for our base down here, and then our actual 4x4 post here. I didn't have any of those, and I wanted to make sure that was nice and sturdy. But everything else was made out of pallet wood, as well as recycled 2x4s that I had laying around. This was part of a recycled 2x6 that I just cut 2 inches out of it. But it was real simple to do. Some people call this herringbone, some people call it something else. I'm not really sure. I call it just herringbone. Like the way that it turned out. And again, this was the mulberry stain. Real simple to do. Got all our framing put in. We have our top posts, cap. So all in all, with the actual hardware and the post that I had to purchase, for the gate we spent less than $75, which was real nice. At first, we wanted to make sure that we trained the dogs to go to the bathroom over here automatically without us necessarily having to tell them, so they weren't going on our grass. So that's why we installed the gate. We can just call them over here, close the gate, they'll go to the restroom. After a while of training them like that, they will completely go over there. Asuna and Lily have gotten really good about it. Luna is new, so she's finally starting to get the hang of it, but we'll get there, and then eventually the gate won't be necessary, but it does make the dog park look a little nicer. I did want to eventually hang a container here to hold dog bags, so that way we can have all of our dog waste bags just hanging there, and easy access to get to. But again, real simple project. Everything made from the recycled pallets, just disassembling them and getting them stained. I do have a few holes that I put filler in that have expanded a bit, so I've got to go through and kind of scrape and resand this down and refinish it. So maybe eventually I'll show you a picture of it, get it updated. But simple project, anybody can do it with any basic skill level. All I used for the most part for this was just a drill and my miter saw, so nothing real fancy when it comes to the tools that you actually need. Anybody can do this. The only thing really hand tool wise the average person may not have would just be the post hole digger, which you can do it with a shovel, but the post hole digger just made it a little bit easier. But thanks so much for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. And next week we will be covering the grass and the lawn area and the start of that. So look forward to seeing you guys next week, and tune in.